Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. About a week or so ago, I did a post on my Facebook page with a little sticky note that said, Ask me anything. And it was an appreciation for Small Business Day. Or Small Business Appreciation Day, which is different, I guess, than Small Business Day. But what I did is I put a post out there saying, thank you for being here. Thank you for being on my journey, whether I've sat with you for a reading or not. I just appreciate people being around and, seeing my unique perspective on spirit and hopefully gaining some sort of sense of peace or clarity from that. And I made this offer to people, ask me anything with the idea, that I was looking for questions about, spirit stuff. I put that in there, and I wasn't asking specifically for questions about like what's going on in my world or what's going on with my specific stuff. And I realized after that post had taken off and people were putting comments is that I just wasn't clear enough. And I got over, 100 comments here. This video is for anybody that would have put a question there. So right here underneath my little phone tripod, I have my laptop. And I've got that post up and I've got those questions. Now, there are some questions that have common themes, so I'm going to kind of combine them all. I'm going to address everybody that left a comment by name. And again, if you were asking about something specific in your life, I would need to sit in that space and do a thorough tarot reading or perhaps sit up with you one-on-one. I'm going to do my best to kind of isolate and identify those sorts of answers as best I can, but there is something very specific about that connection that I make with a client when I sit with them. So with that being said, let's get started. Okay. First question is from an Ann Dunbar. She says, hi Josh. So with tarot, when reading the cards, is there a way to define a window of time or season related to questions or insight being asked when doing a card pull? Okay. There's a lot of numerological associations with tarot, and I would encourage you, Anne, to look into that. Now, what that means is you could have an association with the Four of Wands, meaning 4 days. You could have an association with the Four of Cups, meaning 4 weeks. You could have an association with the Four of Pentacles, meaning 4 years, something to that extent. Now, again, there are numerological associations that are kind of built into that system of tarot. But we develop our relationship with that. And in my work, Anne, I don't do future stuff. I don't do future stuff because the future is so wibbly wobbly. This applies to tarot or other things, just psychic messages. I have had a lot of people come to me and say, well, you told me a thing was going to happen and it happened just like you told me it would. I don't remember any of that. But I have a tendency to not talk about future stuff because if I were to tell somebody that something was going to happen, or if they did a certain thing, something was going to happen, well, they might try to make it not happen, or they might try to make it happen and thereby get the opposite result. This is where we see a lot of prophecy and myths where somebody's told something's going to happen and they try to make it not happen, thereby causing it to happen. The future is very wibbly wobbly. There's very few things in our future that I feel is actually fated. I would encourage you, Anne, to develop some of your own associations with those cards. It's going to take you some practice and some relationship building with those symbols to figure that out. Or look into numerological associations. Again, for me, I don't really do much in the future. Of course, I do get general impressions about, by this month, by that month, but that's psychic and not tarot. So good luck with that. Now, it looks like we might have had your sister, Ann Dunbar, your sister Tabitha Dunbar here, asking a question. She goes, what is the book publishing process and how do you go about finding someone to print it and publish it for you? All right. So a lot of people don't know that Isaac and I, my husband, own Deep Earth Press. So I'm sitting here in the space in Littleton, New Hampshire called Deep Earth Arts. That's our studio space, our store space, what have you. This is where we do our business. We also have a publishing company called Deep Earth Press. We've helped people publish books before. We've published our own. Tabitha, the book publishing process, depending on where you go and what it looks like, is completely different. Some people have different editing, copywriting procedures, all of that. There's a million answers to that question. A couple of things that I'm going to do here is ask you to consider the writing workshop that I have coming up on June 5th called Saving Our Stories. It'll be a 9-week workshop. You get an author coach, you get all sorts of training and community and sessions and all of that to help you through that process. And then once you have that document, you can either go self-publish or you can submit to publishers to take that manuscript on and publish it for you. Those two things are completely different. What I would encourage you to do, Tabitha, though, is if you have a book inside of you, you got to write consistently. And 2, I want you to, do a Google search on self-publishing. You can do it through Amazon. You can do it through a lot of different places. That might be useful for you. But, let your fingers do the walking when it comes to Google. Now, Tanya, I'm going in order here. I'm going in order as they appear on my screen. Tanya Kidder asked, did I make the right move? I'm going to put a pin in that one. I'm going to put a pin in that one, and I'm going to circle back to it. So, Tanya, I'm not being evasive. I'm just putting a pin on it for a reason, because there are other people that ask a similar question to that. My gut on the outset says yes, but we're going to get to it. We're going to get to a further answer there. Okay. Shirley King asks, I have a lot of health issues, and lately I've been feeling odd and thinking of my family and friends who have passed on, and I'm feeling like I'm not far from passing myself. I just get really calm. Can you see if my feelings are on point? Thank you, Josh. Now, Shirley, that does happen to people as they get closer to passing. They'll have their family and their friends come to them, and we see that a lot in hospice work, or people that are passing or about to pass. They'll actually physically see those people, bringing them into the afterlife, into heaven, if you will. My gut instinct is that, one, it might be a seasonal change, going through like a Beltane, May 2nd-ish, May 1st, May 2nd, May Day. It's a very significant energetic change that we go through. I feel completely different now than I did in March, and I think it's seasonal. The health issues, I think, though, what I've noticed with spirit is that, and I do this in my mediumship work, spirit is with us all the time. There's no disconnect from us and our loved ones in spirit. We get kind of taught that there is, but there's not. What I will see, like, let's say I have a client come in and she's hoping to hear from her mother. Well, she might have her grandmother show up, but the mother will pop in here and there and go, I'm working on your brother. I'm with your brother. And then I'll be like, okay, I'll ask, do you have a brother? Feeling like he's got mental illness, yada, yada, yada. Your mom's really there. So what I have found is that spirit, we don't have to be close to death. We just have to be in a place of conflict, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, or mental. Spirit will be with us, trying to get through to us, trying to heal us and guide us and give us their comfort as much as they're able to from where they're at. Hope that answers your question. Now, Janess Davis, she asks, this is a friend of mine from high school, so I'm gonna circle back to this because this is a common question that I have. Where is my person? Where is my person? I'm going to get to that. Hold on. Jackie Regan Huntington, she asks, what do you look forward to most on your walks, and do you ever ground yourself with the earth by walking barefoot? All right. So Jackie knows about what I call my old man walks. Every morning I take what I call my old man walk. I got to move my body. I got to connect to nature. So I call it my old man walk because I want to be an old man, not because I am an old man. And I've learned the hard way that I need to move my body and I need to connect to nature. She asked me what I look forward to most on my walk. Well, right now I'm using the Merlin app. I'm not sure if anybody has ever heard of this. Some people have, some people haven't, but I love it. It's an app that will identify birds based on the songs. I can now identify a chipping sparrow, an ovenbird, and a white-throated sparrow. When I hear them, I'm like, oh, that's a chipping sparrow. That's an ovenbird. That's a white-throated sparrow. And I know others like crows and blue jays and robins and chickadees. But I love that part of spring and May, and that's been what I've really been looking forward to. It's also four-leaf clover season, and I'm looking for my four-leaf clovers. I really look forward to moving my body. I wake up, I have some morning stuff that I do, feed the animals, do all of that. But to find the clarity of mind by moving my body, that's the thing I love the most, because, again, it's taken me a long time to realize this. I've been an entrepreneur working for myself since 2013. And, really had this work ethic really driven into me. So I pushed myself too hard. I'd wake right up and get right on the laptop and go to work. I wouldn't care for my mental or emotional or physical health. And it's really, I had to have almost a breakdown to get there to go, wait, you have to pay attention to these things. But there's also an epigenetic connection to that, because most of my ancestors were farmers. Most of my people were up early, moving their body up with that early morning sunlight. And that's what I love about that, is that I move my body, I'm getting that fresh air. I just love it so much. And it's a religious thing for me. I do it every day. If I'm traveling or staying at a hotel, I get up and I walk around outside just to get connection. Now, she asked if I ever ground myself with the earth by walking barefoot. No. In the summertime, when I can, I love going barefoot, walking on the grass, doing all that. But my connection to the earth and finding grounding in that way, that will happen for me without my shoes on. Just pulling up energy from the earth and feeling connected to it. Also, I do believe that walk is a form of grounding, because I connect with myself and I'm connecting with the world around me. Well, that's very nice, Linda. Thank you for blessing me. Hope to see you at Tarot Club soon. Okay. Amanda Sue comes in and she asks, how do we know if it's the right time to come see you and hear from who we need to hear from? Or is it possible to book a session and ask for a certain person? So when it comes to a session, what I do is I like to channel who and what comes through first. What I've noticed, and this is going to answer some other questions too, is that it's the older dead that will always come through first. Let me explain that. What I have found is that death is birth in reverse. Human beings are one of the only creatures on this world that takes like 3 or 4 years to get going. You take a cow or a horse, 20 minutes after they've been birthed from their mama, they're up running around. And we're not like that. It takes us a while. And I believe that's the acclimation of being flesh, being human, being alive in this physical world. We also go through an acclimation process when we leave this body, leave this plane, and go to the other place. That acclimation process, again, is like birth. It can be a little chaotic, can be a little, difficult in that transition. That's why we come here crying. But the process of when it's okay to connect to somebody also has a lot to do with how much trauma they endured in their world, like in their life. So every spirit that passes goes through a life review, and that life review is a healing process based on how much trauma they would have experienced, how much trauma they would have caused, and how much trauma their death or the illness at the end of their life caused. Do you take somebody who didn't have a lot of trauma in their life, had a very peaceful life? You take somebody who didn't have a very traumatic death? Well, that person's going to be on their feet in the world of spirit very quickly. Then you take somebody who had a really traumatic life, had a really traumatic passing. There's a healing process where they have to learn and heal and, heal their spirit from that impact that those traumas would have caused over the course of their life. Sometimes it can be really fast. Sometimes it can be really slow. And then it also depends on the priorities of which they see of how they interact in this world. So to get back to your question, Amanda, how do we know if it's the right time to, well, you're going to want to, how about this? As long as you don't come in here absolutely bawling, or video session, if you're still in the throes of grief, that's not an appropriate time to come see somebody like me. You have to let that grief pass to a certain degree. And again, because that's different for everybody, I don't know. Some people it's 3 weeks, some people it's 3 months or 3 years. That's going to be very specific to that person. I will say, if you are feeling like because this is what spirit will do. Spirit knows who I am, knows what I do. I do my damnedest to connect humans to their loved ones. I have a pretty good reputation in the world of spirit, so spirit will use me or put me in people's minds to point them in my direction so we can connect and get them on the phone line. So if you're feeling like you need to see me or somebody like me, that could be your spirits saying, hey, listen, let's get on the phone together, because that's all I am, is a phone line from there to here. Is it possible to book a session and ask for a certain person? Absolutely. But what I do is I always honor who's with us first. That's why I brought up the older dead. I get a lot of people that are, past 10, 15, 20 years. And then we're going to have 10, 15, 20 years. And then somebody who's passed 3 weeks ago, that older person over there might bring that newborn up to me and communicate with and for that person. You can absolutely ask, and I've had this happen. It just happened to me the other day. Woman come in here, mother, grandmother, everybody's talking to her, and then she starts talking about the boyfriend she helped transition into the world of spirit. I'm like, oh, do you want to hear from him? She's like, I'd love to. Well, he hadn't presented himself because her other spirits were very much here. So it was like, okay, what's his name? Give me his name. Boom, he was right here and talking. So it's like me just having to dial into that frequency that that spirit has. And of course, mom and grandma were over there longer. He was a newborn over there. So, somebody asked, I know that you know my daughter Crystal, and I was wondering if someone that has passed away that doesn't believe in God, does he or she go to heaven? I don't mean to challenge anybody's beliefs here, but there's one place that we go to. That's it. Doesn't change based on your religion. Doesn't change. You know, I think of all of the people in this planet that have never heard of Jesus or God or heaven or any of that stuff. They're all going to the same place we all are. That's it. There's an afterlife. There's different things that happen to us when we get there based on the life that we've led, but there's one destination. I like to think of, a lot of people have a difficult time with this because life is rough for a lot of us, but I like to think of the human condition, our lives here, as we're on vacation. We're on vacation. This is a temporary place that we're supposed to enjoy ourselves. That's what a vacation is, by definition, a temporary place that we're supposed to enjoy ourselves. When we pass away, we go home. Those at home watch us on vacation. Eventually, we leave here and we go there. And let's bring that, analogy a step further. This is a campground. This is a camping trip, because when you go camping, you're supposed to leave it better than you found it, not leave it worse. Okay. Well, Billy got on here and said, how are babies made? There's another question in here from Adi who says, why is the sky blue? Well, Billy and Adi, I'm going to give you Google. I think you know those answers, and I loved your sense of humor. Okay. Okay. So Hannah Nettle gets on here. Hi, Hannah. She says, I remember when you did that rune reading on Facebook a few years ago, and it was spot on. I'm now at a crossroad with the possibility of a career change, and I'd love insight on that. Okay, hold on. We're gonna put that into that bucket of like, what's my direction? Where do I go? Okay. Somebody named Tylee has my most painful loss moved on. Do they still check on me? If she's talking about moving on to the world of spirit, well, it's right here. And here's where I'm a little different than a lot of people. There is an afterlife, there is a heaven, there is a world of spirit, but it's not some distant, disconnected, detached place. It's not. It's right here. And the analogy that I use is the one-way mirror we would see in a cop show. We, the living, sit on the side of the suspects, pretty oblivious to what's going on over there. Those that we've lost to spirit, they're on the side of the cops where they see, they feel, they hear us. They're always with us. And in fact, they are our sense of intuition. A lot of people, again, this is based on my experience, your intuition is basically your spirit language, your gut instinct, your feeling, and this is how it works. So you will be in communication with your beloved dead, your ancestors, people that you haven't even met, great-grandmothers, what have you, and they will be working through you. They'll be talking to you, but their language is feeling. So you'll get a sensation or impression and get this gut instinct or this message. It takes about a half a second until our rational intellectual mind kicks in and translates what we received in our voice. And these things will happen to us when we're driving or in the shower or doing dishes, kind of when we're zoning out and letting the monkey mind, as the Buddhists call it, calm down. Well, they'll come in with a message. So yes, absolutely, Tylee, has my most painful loss moved on? Do they still check on me? Absolutely. Because there's nowhere to go. They're with you all the time, and they want the best for you. So this is another core part of my message. If we want our loved ones in spirit to rest in peace, we got to live in peace, because they watch us. And that's the nature of love. A lot of people, from my experience, love the woo-woo, new agey, butterfly and rainbows idea of the afterlife. Yeah, it's not that simple. It's absolutely not that simple, because love is not that simple. I want you to think about the people in your life who you love right now. Okay. When they suffer, don't you suffer? That's the nature of love. When you love somebody and you're connected to them in that way, what they're going through affects you. That deepens from the world of spirit. My Graham, the grandparent that I got a chance to know, she's in the world of death, the world of spirit. I want to make sure that she rests in peace. I do everything to make sure that her grandson lives in peace. Okay. Rose Toner asks, can you tell me anything about a past life of mine? So, Rose, I don't do much in the way of past life, but I will take this opportunity to talk to people about that. So, where is it? Oh, it's not here. I have a book called When We Die, We Come Up for Air. It's a series of short stories of things that have happened to me, and the last short story is a past life regression that I got that was awful. Now, I experienced it, like put into a hypnotic state, and I went through 3 past lives, and they were not fun. The person really didn't know what they were doing, kind of got out of control, so I went through one death, and then another death, and then another death. When you see a psychic, and they say that they'll do a past life reading, I get really leery about that, because that gives people that are frauds an opportunity to just make shit up. So, Rose, I want you to be mindful of that, because we do have past lives. We do have other lives that we've led. And I am a believer in past life regression because I've experienced it, but I am also a believer that has to be done by a professional, because mine wasn't done by a professional. Okay. Rose, what I can tell you about a past life of yours, though, is that there is this sense of justice that you carry into this world. What I'm picking up is that you get sort of like an adrenaline rush, or you get heated under the collar whenever you see somebody being hurt, like the underdog being challenged, somebody vulnerable, somebody weak. Think handicapped people, or the elderly being taken advantage of or being hurt. There's something in you that gets you really going. What I'm seeing, and this is interesting, what I'm seeing is like a priest collar, like the black, the white, the black. It looks like a priest collar, which means that you might have suffered at the hands of like a Catholic priest or Catholicism in a past life somewhere along the way. The other thing that might be is that you might have been the priest. And this is why I got to be careful with this stuff, because we have all been people in our past lives who have done some not great stuff. We'd like to think that we're not capable of it, but that is something that I've found through experience. You could read that short story and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But Rose, again, that frustration or that anger that you feel towards injustice, that could be something that you brought into this world because you created injustice in a past life, or you experienced it. That's the purpose of a past life reading, is to go, okay, you get really riled up about certain issues or situations. Well, it's because of something either that happened to you or something that you did. I'm just seeing that priest collar. So there's got to be some Catholic stuff there. They don't really have a great history. No offense to Catholics. Just think, look at history, right? Okay. Jeanette Gagne. How many licks does it take to get to the center, to Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? I'll have a contest with you. The number that comes into my head is 117. It's got to be more than that, but it might be 117. I'm going to invite you to spend the 50 cents and find out for yourself. Here I am empowering you, Jeanette. Thank you for that question. Petra Miller. I would just like to know that my pup is okay up there. Maybe I'm not in tune to signs, so maybe I've missed them. I have felt like I've never gotten any, and we were really connected. All right. A couple of things that I want to talk about here, because some people in these comments were talking about, like, I don't feel my spirits. I don't feel them. I had a connection. I know that they carry on. I just don't feel them. Well, let me tell you why that is. And let me tell you why relaxation is so important. And these are the kind of questions that, like, I'm looking up answer for everybody. So I speak in analogies and metaphors. The human existence, think back to the campground, right? Think back to the one we mirror. Another one that I really lean into is the physical existence and spiritual existence married like this. Well, we're like a horse and a rider. Follow me on this. Your body is the horse, the rider is your spirit, your soul, married, and when you die, they separate. Okay. The body. This is important, people. The body, our body, by scientific definition, is a mammal. It has physiological needs. It needs rest. It needs sleep. It needs water, shelter, warmth, food, calories, play. It needs all of these things. If you don't give your body what it needs, your body will dominate. We are in a 3D world. We are animals here. We're a mammal. You and I, mammals. Your body has an intelligence all its own because it's striving to survive. Think of perspiration, think of digestion, think of blinking, think of doing all of those things that you have no control over. Your body has an intelligence. If your body's not in a place of balance, it will become the dominant part of you. The horse will take over. The horse will kick its stall. The horse will get angry. Think of hangry, hungry and angry at the same time. That's your body going, feed me. If your body's in a place of hunger, it's very difficult for your spirit to feel spirit, to express itself. A lot of people who say they can't feel their spirits, well, there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of they're just so in their body that it's hard for the spirit to become dominant or at least expressive. In terms of animals are absolutely on the other side. I have had the pleasure and the privilege of connecting to animal spirits, and it's some of the greatest joy that I can find doing this work, just because they're so pure. Humans, complicated. There's all sorts of things that happen to humans that make them certain ways that they have to learn from and pay for and do all of that in the world of spirit. Animals, they're so full of love, and they are very much with us. By nature of my work, it's always, not always, but generally speaking, majority of the time, it's humans that I'm talking to, not the animals. But the animals will come through with signs that they're there and gratitude. So I can't say that human and animals have the same type of soul or spirit, but whatever soul or spirit we do have definitely goes to the same place. Okay. Kathy Dean asks, can you connect with your own family spirits? That's a good question. It's difficult for me to, because I've known them. I don't know what's mine. I don't know what's theirs. I do feel my gram with me. I do feel a great grandmother that I've never met with me. I can connect to them in that way. But when I sit and do mediumship work with somebody, I'll say, well, I'm feeling this. I'm sensing this. I'm getting this. What does this mean? I'm tasting Tootsie Rolls or, I'm what have you. What does this mean to you in this spirit? Because spirit uses symbols, feelings, sensations to talk to me. The process that I work through is translating them. I mean, I had a guy come through and show me Mario from Donkey Kong. If you remember Donkey Kong, the old video game, and Mario's with the hammer, I'm like, well, I know Mario is a plumber. But the guy was showing me Mario with a hammer to say that he was a carpenter. So the images and the things that they use to talk about, it's just sometimes can be a little bit like, okay, help me translate this. Can I connect with my own family spirits? Can you connect with your family spirits? It's going to be very difficult to, because, some people do. It's going to be difficult to because it's going to be hard to know what's ours, what's theirs. It's hard to know what's coming from our ego, our sense of identity, or what's actually coming from externally from us. Actually, one of the great ways that I do this is with tarot cards. I have a specific set of tarot cards for specific ancestors and spirits that I go to, and that's my way of having them give me my messages, and spot on all the time. So Jamie Wyman says, my brother, I miss him so much. Jamie, I apologize. Again, it's hard for me to look at your name and do mediumship work here. We're gonna talk about that as we get through this. Okay. Silva Skelton asks, can you tell me who my baby Gabriel is within heaven. I lost her during my pregnancy of twin girls in September 2000. I don't believe you need that information, but thought it might be helpful. I miss knowing how it would have been raising identical twins. Silva, I'm so sorry to hear that. What I can say is that they're with all of your ancestors. The other side of that one-way mirror is a family, is a community, is ancestry. It is. It really is. Now, what I have found is this, and I can't say that this happened because there's very few definites in the world of spirit. When you take somebody who's passed away from something like that, okay, or at a very young age, whether it was, in the womb or a very young child, what I see and what I sense, and I've determined this with other people, is that those spirits, when they go over there, what they're going to do is they're going to do everything to get back here. And I'm a big believer in soul clusters or soul families, that we do reincarnate and spend, this time, life and death, with a certain group of people that we'll try to find. I have seen where, a little child has passed away, and then I'm guided to start talking about their cousin who had weirdly was born after that person, that little child passed away, but develops all the traits and the characteristics. And I'm like, I can't guarantee this, of course I can't, but it feels like that spirit did everything they can to come back into this world to be with their soul cluster. So perhaps, Silva, you had another child after your twins. That would have been, it's like on the carousel. That's the person that's going to come into this world in that order. Now, with that being said, that might be through a sister or somebody, near the family, that they try to come back in and be with that soul cluster. Or they don't have the chance to incarnate in this world. And if they don't have a chance to incarnate, they're going to be with the ancestors, with the spirits. It's interesting, as I'm saying this, is I'm getting like this swaddle of this woman who would have just swung and carried. Of course, they're going to be with loved ones over there. We're never alone there or here, pretty much. There, we're with our family, whether we would have really known them or not. And the better way to say it is we're with our soul cluster, our soul family there. So, I'm going to stop with Lori McLaughlin. This is important because it looks like I'm going to have to do part 1 and part 2 of this. So, with that being said, Lori says, my mom passed away in February of this year. Is she at peace? I was hoping I'd feel her presence around me, but I don't. I miss her terribly. Lori, your mama is a newborn in that world. She's going through the life review. She's learning, she's healing, all of that. And then it takes a while for them to gain some presence. It does. It really, really does. And this is why I think that it's more appropriate to come see somebody like me after that grief is past, because that grief can keep us in our body. And if the grief is in our body is really at this place of imbalance, it's going to be difficult to feel spirit, because our spirit's going to have a difficult connecting, because our body is so dominant. Absolutely, she's at peace. She's at peace. Where we go, essentially, we're all at peace with this addendum. Now, again, a lot of people don't like to hear this because a lot of people don't like to be held accountable for their actions. Your suffering is hers. There's no other way around it. And I don't want to be, I don't want to be sour. It's just how it is. Your suffering is hers. And imagine this. Do me this favor. Imagine you having passed, gone to the world of spirit, gone to the other side of that one-way mirror, and you left your mom here. You'd be able to see her, you'd be able to feel her, you'd be able to know her. Imagine what you'd want for her. You'd want her to know peace, love, hope, abundance, health, all of the things that you'd want for each other while you were here in this world. But if you were in spirit, you would want all of that for your mom, because that's the basis of love. Well, that's what your mom wants for you. But your mom is also observing you and seeing you. And sometimes spirit's like, oh. So that's why I'm a big stickler on prioritizing our own peace. Because when I prioritize my peace, I prioritize my grandmother's in spirit. I'm blessed to still have my parents, my mom and dad. When I prioritize my peace, I'm prioritizing their peace, because if they need to be at peace or want to be at peace and should be at peace, then their son has to be at peace. So when you focus on yours and you understand that grief is a process and not necessarily a place we stay, this is why we have to have empathy for the dead. We have empathy for everybody around us, but let's have empathy for the dead as they observe us and they watch over us. It is a process. They understand it to a greater degree than we do. Part of that life review is that education of spirit, going, oh, okay, we live, we die, it's this, it's that. We kind of get that awareness there. So we will understand that process of grief being an extension of love, but they don't want us to stay there. They want us to move through it to find peace and happiness the same way that you'd want your mom to find it if she had stayed here and you had gone to spirit. Now, Lori, I hope that helps. And interestingly enough, all around you, Lori, I'm smelling roses. All of a sudden I'm getting the smell of roses. That could be that your mom was a Catholic. That could be that your mom was full of love and grace and compassion. Sometimes those things get mixed up for me, because this is why I'm tattooed with roses. I have this weird connection with roses, meaning grace, compassion, and all of that. I'm really smelling it right now. So again, I'd be interested to know what that looked like for you. So thank you for the question, and I'm here all the time if you need me a little bit down the road as your mom gets on her feet over there. So with that, thank you. This is part 1. I'm going to come back and do a part 2. I really appreciate y'all being here, and I will focus on those questions that I promised to hold at the end, the people, all of that. So like where's my people? Where's my partner? So again, thank you. So much love to you, and I'll see you in the next one.